What's happening, hardscapers? This is episode 11 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk to you about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. Tune in every week as we cover a subject and interview industry leaders on how you can grow your hardscaping business, from new installation methods, techniques, tools, marketing, financials, and so much more. On today's episode, we're joined by Ray Rodenburgh of Unilock. He's here to talk with us about how you can invest in your business to retain employees and increase your efficiency, from taking measurements and planning your design all the way to the installation with the Unilyft, the U-Level, and the Uvision. This is a really great episode. Take a screenshot of you listening to this episode. Show us that you're listening to it on Instagram. Share it in your stories and tag us. And let us know what you took away from this episode, the best piece of advice you got. And let's get into the episode. Today we are joined by Ray Rodenburgh, Director of Trade Strategy for Unilock, and he's here today to talk to us about the U-Level, Uvision, and Unilyft, and how these are going to help improve your efficiency. Ray, thank you for joining us here today.
Hi, Michael. Pleasure to chat with you this morning.
Ray, let's just get started a little bit here by talking about your background in the industry. Where did you get started, and where did you? What's the process in getting to where you are today?
Well, it's been quite a number of years. I've been at Unilock for 31 years. Prior to that, I was actually a Unilock authorized contractor for 8 years. When I was going to college, I was studying marketing, so I kind of wanted to put the two subjects together, and so I ended up at Unilock, and first in a territory manager role, and then as director of marketing, and now director of trade strategy. So my job here at Unilock is to actually look for things that will help and improve contractors in their overall business.
How about Unilock? For those of us that have not maybe heard about Unilock before, or maybe they just recognize the name, how has Unilock evolved over the years from its very infancy?
Yes, so Unilock was started by a man by the name of Edward Bryant. He was from Toronto. He began the company 48 years ago, and we are the first concrete paver manufacturer in North America. And he had a vision. He had a vision that we would see all our hard paved areas eventually becoming modular block pavement, or as pavement, or pavers as we call them, or paving stone. He had a vision to see that across North America. And today, 48 years later, we have multiple manufacturing facilities, most of which are in the United States, located anywhere from Kansas City through to Boston, New York on the East Coast. Our goal is really to pave North America.
And continuing with this sort of history, this development that we've been talking about, what have you noticed over the years? You've been in the industry a long time. What have you noticed over the years in terms of how the industry has changed? And in particular, the last couple of years, how are things changing in the industry?
Things are definitely changing in the industry. I think contractors are seeking to be more efficient. They're seeking to be more educated. You can even see that in social media as they feed on each other's installation techniques and best practices. We've really seen a big shift to this because we have a labor problem in North America. And anybody that doesn't have a labor problem is not in North America. For every recent statistic I heard was that for every one person that enters the construction industry as a whole, 5 either quit or retire. So we have a declining workforce in this industry. So, and that has a direct effect on a manufacturer like us, because we have been relying for the last 45 years on the pairs of hands that put our product into the ground. And as soon as the number of pairs of hands goes down, less product gets into the ground, and that affects sales. So we have to do things that help contractors get the product into the ground faster. and that's our goal.
Yeah, that's incredible, and that kind of leads us into what we're going to get into today, talking about the U-Level, the Uvision, and the Unilyft, and how this can help people improve their efficiency, which is especially a hot-button topic in terms of the labor shortage. What is Unilock's mission in terms of creating these products to help the contractors' efficiency? I know you touched on it a little bit there, but what is the importance in creating these products in terms of Unilock?
Well, as I mentioned, the importance is really to speed up the projects. There's only so many hours available in a season. There's only so many pairs of hands. So the goal is really to maximize the efficiency or maximize the output of the installer in a given period of time. So leading into that, one of the things that I originally scoped out about 10 years ago, before we really needed it, was a machine in Europe that laid paving stones. It was basically a suction lifting machine that placed pavers. And I was intrigued by that machine. And actually, I had a vision that one day we would be using that in North America. And fast forward 10 years, we noticed this reduction in the available workforce. So I sourced a company in Sweden that manufactures a tool that we call Unilyft, which is a machine, basically the price of a mini dumper. And this machine can pick up paving stones in different configurations and lay them down at anywhere from 3 to 5 times the speed of doing it by hand. And not only is speed a factor here, but also there's issues with safety. So employee injury, back strain, etc. And also just, I always joke around. I always say Unilyft is not only an employee attractor, it's also an employee keeper. So no employee is going to leave you to go lay it by hand if he's working for a company that's got a machine. The Unilyft is definitely something where the amount of efficiency is not just like small, like 15, 20, or 30 percentage points. It's like 300, 400 percentage points of increased efficiency. And the return on investment is incredible. Even companies such as LMN, Landscape Management Network, who will also talk a lot about efficiency and time management, have recognized the Unilyft as being a very key machine going forward. And to date, we have quite a number of Unilifts out there, and now we're already starting to see several companies placing an order for their second machine. And this is very significant because it shows a lot of trust in the machine and the potential, the future potential, not only just increasing business, but maintaining business and keeping employees.
And I love that topic of employee retention, because obviously if they're working for a company with a machine like the Unilyft, they're not going to want to leave that company to go somewhere to be laying these products with their hands again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's such an important concept that somebody may not consider when thinking about the Unilyft. And not to mention the efficiency and everything that comes with it. How about maintenance of a machine like this? What kind of maintenance needs to be kept with the Unilyft in terms of maybe replacing the seal or anything that you'd want to talk about in terms of that?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked that. It's the Unilyft is a really simple machine in a lot of ways. There's some interesting science behind it, how the suction works, but the overall mechanical parts are quite simple. There are only a few small maintenance things that are required for Unilyft. Number one is it comes with a Honda engine, gas-powered engine, and we have lots of landscape tools and machines that already have Honda engines, and they can be readily serviced from an engine point of view. And if you take good care of your engine filters and you're using good fuel and you're doing the regular oil changes, your Honda engine is going to last a long time. Other than that, the only other real maintenance thing on a Unilyft is the air filter, the air intake filter. The last thing you want to do is get junk into your vacuum pump, because the vacuum pump is the most expensive component on the machine, and you don't want to wreck that. So regular filter changes of those is really all you need. Lastly, the rubber suction pads, depending on how aggressive the surface is of the paver, like exposed aggregates and so on, they're a little rougher on the rubber, because the rubber is very soft and pliable. So the more you kind of rub that on the surface as you're working, the more you're going to wear those pads down. But those pads, we keep those in stock. They're easily to put on. They range anywhere from $15 to $38 for these pads. So and they, you can have one at least last the entire season.
Now, in terms of purchasing one of these machines, is there any customization available, or is the Unilyft like a single product in terms of placing your order? You know what you're going to get, or is there any customization in terms of placing that order?
The only thing that really requires any level of customization is to order the heads that you need for your particular laying pattern and product. And these heads, they range anywhere from $399 to upwards to $1,200 for the more complex ones. But everything can be customized, but we have a whole catalog of standard ones that you can pick from, so that makes it pretty easy. Currently, we do keep inventory down in Chester, New York, so we have machines available for immediate shipping. Usually, although last year we had a little bit of a barrage on them and we kind of ran out, but now we're starting to build the inventory again. The good news is that we have a very reliable supplier in Sweden, good family company, strong values, and a commitment to produce the best equipment. There are a couple of other products out there that are similar. Would caution anyone looking at cheaper or less expensive versions, because they don't have nearly the amount of safety features that are built into the Unilyft.
And in terms of suctionability, does this work on porous and non-porous? And in terms of weight capacity that it can lift, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the maximum lift capacity for Unilyft is 308 pounds. That is actually more than enough. That could even be an entire layer of a particular product. But we've also learned some things in terms of you really don't want to lift more than about a half or even a third of a layer of pavers at a time. With Unilyft, the lifting mechanism up and down is literally featherweight. But once you start moving the product horizontally to your install spot, the momentum of heavier product can be kind of awkward. So you really don't want to have your product being whatever you're lifting not to be much more than about 150 to 200 pounds on a regular basis.
I've demoed the Unilyft before at the Unilock showcase, and it's incredibly smooth. It's a beautiful machine. It's really interesting how you can use it in so many different ways to attract employees, to retain employees, and to even use it as a selling point for your customers as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Michael. With Unilyft, one of the things, as you know, a lot of the module sizes of pavers are getting larger and larger. It becomes more challenging to lay these larger pieces accurately. When you're putting something down manually that is like 2 foot by 3 foot, once you put it on your bedding course, and let's say your spacing is not quite right, you kind of look at it and you go, oh, screw it, I'm not lifting that thing again. It's 90 degrees out. I'm not doing that. But with Unilyft, it's just easy because you're literally over the working area and you can precisely place the concrete unit exactly where you want it. And then if you need to pick it up again and adjust the base, the bedding course, you can simply just lift it up and then put it back down again. So there's a lot of advantages, even for cutting. When you get near the edge, near a pool deck, and you've got cuts to make on these pavers, you can literally, especially if you're putting in like 2-foot by 3-foot pieces like our Beacon Hill XL, you can hold the piece right over the pool edge and mark or scribe the stone and get it ready for cutting.
Absolutely. And I want to get into talking to you about the U-Level and the Uvision and how they integrate and how this can also help your selling ability as well as your efficiency on the job site. Can you talk a little bit about what the U-Level is and what it can be used for?
Yeah, so the U-Level is basically a very simple device that is similar to a water level. When you have a hose and you have 2 clear pipes on each end, you can actually find what level is with a water hose. So it's very simple and similar to that. And the complex part of the U-Level is really the part that's inside the small computer that's attached to the gauge, so that it allows you to take elevation measurements prior to your installation. So when you're in the quoting stage and the designing stage, you can go out to a property and you can calculate the different elevations, store them all. It links up via Bluetooth to your phone, and you can store all those measurements in your phone in an Excel spreadsheet. The most recent development that we have that's coming out for 2020 is it will also take measurements of the property as well as the elevation at those location points. And the reason we've done that with the U-Level is to speed up the design process so that you can take those elevations and import them into the Uvision software. Right now, you can actually already import it into Uvision. It's just the Excel spreadsheet, but it has enough information on those points for you to start putting the grades in Uvision. And as you know, with Uvision software, and we have thousands of users of Uvision, the very absolute first thing you always do with a Uvision design is put in the elevations. And it makes designing the rest of the project much easier. So the U-Level allows that. The difference of a U-Level over a laser level is basically that allows you to go around corners. So you don't have to have line of sight. You don't have to have a field rod for that. And really the big thing is you don't need to have a paper and pencil to write all your elevations down. This is all done automatically. In fact, you don't even have to type anything into your iPhone. You can just say, take the measurement, it'll go beep, and then you push one button and say, back door patio step. And then you can go around the corner and do the same thing there and go side door, and it tracks it all into the spreadsheet. So it's pretty cool.
Definitely. And there's so many different uses for a piece of equipment like this. And like you said, its integration into Uvision is just, it's the perfect thing. It's the perfect two tools that work together. I mean, I've seen these types of levels being used even when screeding and leveling your screeding bars as well. Is there any sort of maintenance or configuration with the U-Level that people need to know about?
Well, with the U-Level, there's really no maintenance other than making sure you have good batteries in the little computer component. The beauty of the U-Level is that if you do damage the hose, it's a 100-foot hose on there, and if you cut it at the 20-foot point, you can actually repair it out in the field in about 15 minutes. You just have to cut it at the 80-foot mark, make sure it's clean, make sure you bleed the oil a little bit, and then you put it back into the computer gauge. And then to calibrate it is actually very easy too. You take a zero measurement, and then you take a known measurement on a tape, or even as simple as a 4x8 sheet of plywood, you put it on top of the edge of the plywood, and you'll know you're up 48 inches, and then you can set that 48 inches to calibrate it. So it's a very simple thing to calibrate. You don't have to send it back to any factory for calibration or repair for that matter. So these things have been used for many, many years already, for about over 10 years in the building industry, mostly in the southern states, and house inspectors and so on go in, and they have, or house movers, where they pick up an entire house and move it. It's a great way for them to level up a house. So we know this piece of equipment is tried and true. They're not to say that it would never break, but it's pretty indestructible. And we've had a couple out there that have had a problem, and we've just simply replaced those units. So we're confident that tool is going to be also very, very valuable and a time saver.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of Uvision, for those who have not used Uvision before, what are some main talking points about Uvision that kind of sets it apart from other design softwares? I know I've used design softwares in the past that, you can design a hardscape environment fairly well, but I mean, with Uvision, there's different things about it that can really help you sell more on a job in terms of lighting and different features like this.
Yeah, no, that's very true. The Uvision software is something that, it's really a designer's dream, in my opinion. It has over 20,000 individual components, whether that's rocks or plants or objects that you put into your drawing. But it allows you to create something that a homeowner will understand, that your customer will understand. And what I've always said about the 3D software is that if you do a good job of creating the design, then you eliminate what I would call problems later when you go to build. It manages the expectations for the homeowner, and it manages the expectations for the contractor. Because when the contractor looks at that 3D drawing, he knows what he has to deliver. When the homeowner looks at that 3D drawing, the homeowner is expecting that you're going to deliver what's on that piece of paper or on the screen. So it manages the expectations, and which is really good, because when it comes to the project being half completed, you don't get those awkward situations where the homeowner comes home from work, sees what you've done for the day, and goes, gee, I didn't know those pillars were going to be that high, or I didn't know that those trees were going to be blocking that thing, or, you get these things because people didn't understand it from a 2D CAD drawing. So the 3D really, really balances things out. Now, one thing I really like about the Uvision software is that it's got some cool features. The fact that you can design in 3D and 2D simultaneously is actually just it's really, really cool. And it gives you the opportunity to become even if you're not a top-notch designer, this tool doesn't necessarily make you a better designer, but it will make you a more informed designer, because you can toggle between the 2D and the 3D and go, gee, you know what? I like what I'm looking at here. I'm going to build this out a little further. And it helps the designer as well. The things that make Uvision a little bit more unique than other softwares is the fact that you can also generate fly-through videos with it, and you can also construct walls and grill islands and fire features and fire pits and waterfalls, and there's just so much you can build with it. And one of the exclusive tools to Unilock in the Uvision software is the ability to put accents in the wall. This is ideal as well, because it really does make the installation or the design really pop. And it's great for a contractor to be able to illustrate that for a homeowner. Say, hey, check this out when I put the copthorn border in here, or here, I put the Black Series 3000 border in here. Look at what that looks like. And you might get the homeowner going, yeah, I think I like the border, but I like to make it thicker. So make it a double row or make it a single or eliminate it altogether. So there's so many options with that. The other thing that the Uvision software does, and that a lot of the Uvision users themselves are not aware of, is that you can convert the 2D drawing into and I'll call it a simulated CAD drawing, so that it gives you a line drawing as opposed to shaded, colored objects. And this is useful because, especially if you're designing in layers, when you have things on layers, you can turn off the layers that you're not interested in and then turn on a measurement layer that just has the measurements for the hardscapes. So you can print that off. It's a black and white line drawing, and this is what your foreman and staff can take out into the field and use for their initial construction and layout. I really like that feature. It's probably underutilized on the Uvision, but I think it's something that's very valuable. I've said it for a long time, but the software is probably underpriced. At $379, you can't afford not to have it. With those two exclusive features of the CAD feature and the borders and banding feature in the wall product, that makes the software very, very cool. Not only that, we're adding more components to it this year, pre-built components such as we have a new lineup of Ucara grill islands and fire pits and fire tables and what have you, and those components will all be in the software as well for 2020.
Incredible. And it's just so many different features and things that the Uvision offers. And getting back to one last question about the U-level and Uvision integration. Now, the U-level, it measures height, and in terms of based on a zero measurement. When that gets integrated into Uvision, are each of those points that are measured, does it also measure the distance between those points in terms of starting your design from that point?
So that's one of the things that's being built right now. We do have a beta version that we're testing internally. Our contractor services team in Chicago is evaluating that new programming. And once we feel it's accurate and it's going to do a good job, we will release it sometime in 2020.
Ray, we've talked about a lot of great things in terms of the U-level, the Univision, and the Unilyft, and improving efficiency with contractors, as well as, using these to retain employees and to even sell more jobs. Is there anything else that you want to leave our audience with in terms of anything that Unilock has and anything with these three different pieces of equipment?
Yeah, I think the one thing, if you're not involved with a landscape management software, for example, LMN, or there are others out there as well, but if you don't have that, you might not have a picture of what your total year looks like. And what I mean by that is, and how you can make it more efficient. For example, if you know you only have 37 weeks and X amount of hours and X amount of employees, you're only going to drive X amount of revenue. And you also will have X amount of expenditures related to that revenue. And I think it's really, really important that contractors take a holistic look at things and see where they can become more efficient. For example, just not to harp on Unilyft too much, but, with Unilyft, for example, we have a contractor down in New York. He loves the Beacon Hill Excel, which is, I think, 21 by 35 inches. And there's 16 of those on a pallet. And he puts in one pallet every 5 minutes. So that's like 90 square feet in 5 minutes. And he does it by himself. And he doesn't even get tired. So, it's that can't even be compared remotely to putting pavers in by hand. So understanding those efficiencies and where you can become more efficient, whether it's even in the estimate stage, how you can get a more accurate and faster estimate done with ULevel, or how you can get a better job done with Uvision software, how you can eliminate those awkward callbacks from homeowners saying, I don't like the height of those pillars, maintaining that the expectations on both sides. It's all these things will make you more efficient and add to your bottom line. And understanding where those spots are in your business is the first step, even before you buy machines and software, is to see where it's needed most.
Absolutely, Ray, and thank you so much for joining us here. You provided a lot of value to our listeners. And where can our audience learn more about Unilock and anything that Unilock has coming out in 2020?
Well, I recommend that all contractors stay tuned to their social media channels, as well as unilock.com under the events page, where they can visit one of our training seminars, which we have in Canada and the U.S. They can also at any time pick up 1-800-UNILOCK and speak with a representative who will come out. And even, we have demo units of the Unilyft, which we can do demos for you on your site, if timing permits. Definitely give us a call.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. Visit howtohardscape.com for more information on this subject. And let us know what you want to learn about in future episodes. Reach out to us on our social channels. We're at howtohardscape everywhere, or just send us an email, contact@howtohardscape.com. We would love it if you would subscribe to our podcast, leave us a rating and review. Again, this really helps us get this podcast out there into more people's ears and to draw more guests into the show to teach you more about hardscaping and owning your own business. We look forward to meeting with you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.